What is up, basketball fans, and welcome back to Zero Gravity, Apollo Media's NBA podcast, brought to you by Big City Wings, Houston's wing joint, Apollo's wing joint. Shout out to Prize Picks, our daily fantasy app sponsor. Use code Apollo when you sign up and deposit. Get up to $100 matched on your first deposit with Prize Picks using code Apollo. And shout out to our newest sponsor, J-Bar-M Barbecue. Tomorrow night, Wednesday night, when you're listening to this tonight, we will be doing a pregame at J-Bar-M for the Rockets NBA Cup game against the Golden State Warriors. Go to J-Bar-M and hang out with the Apollo crew tonight as you're listening to this at J-Bar-M Barbecue. It's very close to Toyota Center. Cheap drinks, $2 wells, not a big deal. Great food, great drinks, and great people over at J-Bar-M. So go check them out tomorrow. Rockets pregame against the Warriors for the NBA Cup game. I am joined always by Josh Garcia. How we doing, bud?
Buddy, I'm in the new spot. Not literally. I feel like the death beam is upon me right now. I don't want Iguodala. I want my eyes checked because this really hurts. But the NBA Cup is here, brother. I'm geeks. Let's talk about it. Why don't we? How we feeling?
Mavericks game just started. We're recording this Tuesday, December 10th at 8:46 p.m. God's time zone, Texas time zone. So game started. New PJ Washington. I believe that the Thunder have a better chance because they just can't beat PJ Washington. So no PJ Washington, which we'll get into why that's happening in a minute. But Josh, today, before this podcast, you went and hooped. Real life hooped. Not talking hoops. Real life. Went out and played some pickup with the boys. Share your experience there.
I see there's many places where I can start. The most confusing, we'll start there, situation of the whole bunch. Of course, I only really went out for, let's say, I think it was 4 games, about closer to an hour than 45 minutes. But I yelled out, "Mouse in the house," with a 6'4" guy on me, just thinking that it was like the funniest thing ever. He goes, "No, the fuck I'm not," and starts getting really upset. And of course, me thinking that I'm hilarious and silly. I'm chirping back, but it's all fun and games here. He throws an elbow at me. But like 1 or 2 possessions later, I fuck with him again. I say, "Hey, buddy, no elbows at the park." He goes, "What the fuck do you mean? What do you mean no elbows? Have you ever played this shit before?" I'm like, "It's been a long time, but yes." And I think I found my new thing. Just fucking with people at hoops. Surely that won't get me in trouble or hurt. I'll be sure to use it sparingly. But I was knocking down shots. And as a big boy, of course, 6'1", 300 pounds, hearing the fear instilled in someone's voice with someone shouting, "Oh shit, he can shoot." Of course, hardly did anything else. I kind of just stayed in the corner. I got a couple boards, boxed out a little bit, just getting back out there.
Yeah.
Instilling that big boy fear into your very athletic and dare I say not normal, because they're pretty athletic, better than the average person, but into your opponents or into your teammates, it's undefeated, brother. What are some pickup experiences where you've just lost your shit? Because I lost my shit today.
I did lose my shit one time. So my roommate in college, my guy, in freshman year, we went and played pickup with all the swim team boys. So you can imagine how horrendous some of the hoopers in that room were. There was 2 of us, and it was me and my roommate that were actually like serviceable. So it was basically figure out how to get them the ball and hope that they score to win the games for you, or if you get lucky on a fast break and the one guy can just make a layup out of nowhere. Layups were very hard to come by from the swim team. It's a rough look, but yeah, Willie Boy, he's bigger than me. He's like 6'1", 6'2". He's a big guy. Me, obviously not large, had a hard time scoring on Will. I got very frustrated during that game. We'd been playing for a couple of hours at that point. It was a long day, and got very frustrated, and I don't remember what happened. But yeah, me and Will, we didn't talk to each other for about 12 hours, and then we were fine. Woke up the next morning, and we were all good. But yeah, getting in someone's head in pickup is one of the best joys in life, in any facet of life, in any facet of competition. Getting in someone's head is the best. My buddy in high school and I, we literally talked about it in the lifeguard office. We would play pickup when we weren't on duty for lifeguarding, and we would both just say finding the button to press on each individual person in every facet of life is one of the greatest joys you can have. So yeah, love that for you. Love that you got in someone's head. So speaking of someone that gets in someone's head, though, Jimmy Butler in the news today. Shams Charania tweeted out that the Heat are willing to move Jimmy Butler and kind of are shopping him around or poking around. Maybe is what the answer or the answer to the question is there. I don't really know what's happening, whether they can actually trade Jimmy Butler or not. But he listed that he wants to go play for a contender and specifically two teams in Texas, our two teams, the Houston Rockets and the Dallas Mavericks. And then the other team floating out there is the Golden State Warriors. And it's funny that they mentioned those three teams because Jimmy Butler has been dyeing his hair or adding dyed hair into his hair. I don't know the difference. I can't tell. I just don't know. He's done it three occasions now, and it is blue, red, and yellow, which would be the three colors of those three teams. So coincidence? I don't know. Maybe, but it's Jimmy Butler. It's definitely thought out. And he's probably been floating that out just as a secret message for all of us NBA heads out there. So, what do you think about the Jimmy Butler available for trade talks and our two teams being in the mentioned teams that Butler would prefer to go to, allegedly?
It's so funny because if you told me this maybe in October, I'd be like, well, we can give up one of our big contracts, i.e., Dylan Brooks, Fred Van Vliet. And if Miami Heat fans even want this, Jalen Green and Alperen Şengün are now big contracts. Nowhere in a million years would I trade, honestly, either of them for Jimmy Butler. It does feel strange, though, because no matter what, I don't think really any team is going to win this trade. Maybe the Warriors if they get their guy, but even then it's like you're not going to be the guy. You're going to have to give up either Kaminga and a bunch of salary or it's going to be some situation where you can't just scapegoat draft capital your way out of this. You're going to need some sustenance with a $48 million salary from Jimmy Butler. I don't see it necessarily working, especially in Houston with how I know you need that veteran guy, but it feels like, especially now that we're in almost mid-December and the Rockets are gluing everything together, Fred Van Vliet and Dylan Brooks are those veteran guys, and they are, like, dare I say, becoming relatively good NBA players, like top 50 percentile NBA players at least. Like, these are guys that you want on your team. I mean, sure, I don't know if you really want 35, 40 minutes out of some of these guys on some nights, i.e. Fred Van Vliet when he has, bad shooting nights. But even when he has bad shooting nights, he still has a knack for the ball. He still turns the ball over at such a low rate. And it's like, do I really want to get rid of this for a $48 million a year guy? And sure, we have a chance to re-sign him come next season. I'm okay with waiting and seeing here. I don't know how are you feeling about your Mavs, man? Where's our differences here?
Well, in a vacuum, yeah, Jimmy Butler on the Mavericks would be sick. Like, that'd be an awesome small forward. You can move Clay to the bench. You'd have Jimmy Butler out there starting. You'd have extra defense, more dog kind of fuck you asshole mentality added to the Mavericks. All of that would be good. The bad part is a $48 million contract where you have to basically match salaries in order to make sure this trade works. And because I think we have $500,000 until we hit the first apron of the luxury tax. And if you're going to blow through it, I don't really want to blow through it for Jimmy Butler, one. And two, if you're making that trade, you have to trade PJ Washington, Daniel Gafford, and I don't know, like Najee Marshall or Quentin Grimes, or like there's a number of players that you have to trade. It's not going to be a 2-for-1. It has to be a 3 or 4-for-1 and a draft pick, more than likely. He can opt out after this season. So it just doesn't make sense for the Mavericks to do it unless it's just a salary dump and we just blow through the first and second apron and all of a sudden we just have Jimmy Butler on the team and we gave up Dwight Powell. Like, okay, sounds great.
Spencer Dinwiddie
Yeah.
next.
But the problem is that the Miami Heat aren't going to take anything less than what they see as serviceable and agreeable to trading Jimmy Butler. They're one of two stars on their team. Tyler Hero, I don't count you yet. Bam Adebayo is your guy, but Jimmy Butler is the guy for the Miami Heat, and the Miami Heat don't get fleeced. They tried to fleece other teams, and in any scenario where they're trading a star, i.e., Shaquille O'Neal, they usually end up getting the better player back in the deal after trading an aging superstar. They're not going to do it for anything less than that, even if it's just for multiple picks, which we don't even have. So it doesn't even work for the Mavericks. I don't know how it would even conceivably happen. I think the Warriors is the easiest landing spot because they can get to salary and they have picks to be able to do it, and then you put him with Steph and Draymond, and all of a sudden your team's probably better, but not like doesn't scare me as much in the West. But having Jimmy Butler with Steph Curry and Draymond Green would be kind of terrifying from a emotional standpoint. Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler might just attack everyone every night, and that'd be kind of terrifying. But other than that, like that doesn't make them finals favorites. It doesn't even make them Western Conference finals favorites. Like Jimmy's trying to get out one way or another. He's either opting out at the end of the summer or in the summer, or he's going to get traded. And the Heat could just conceivably throw him wherever. Like they just send him the Nets. They could do whatever. Like they could just throw him somewhere and be like, have fun over there. Like that's going to suck. Have fun with that, Jimmy. Pat Riley does not care. So I don't see it for the Mavs. I don't see it for the Rockets. I see it for the Warriors, but at a certain cost for them.
Definitely a Cam Johnson, Jimmy Butler 1-for-1 would be objectively hilarious.
It would be funny.
Um,
And the Heat
I
might be better. I don't know.
ooh, yeah, sure.
No, they
I
wouldn't.
love I love when you just dude, I love when you say things. It's incredible
I
because
just say
I'm never
things.
gonna check you. I'm never gonna check you. I'm just gonna act like I'm in shock.
You
And
should.
I think that's the way to go.
Yeah.
Jimmy Butler has no reason to I don't want to say no reason to be on this team. I mean, for the right part, for the right price, I'd love to have Jimmy Butler on this team. But we can't just say fuck it. Here's 3 first-round picks. Here's 4 first-round picks. Like you need to get rid of some guys, and it's not like they're just going to take Steven Adams, Fred VanVleet, Dylan Brooks. Like it's going to be Cam Whitmore, Reed Shepard. Like it's going to be some guy, even Jabari Smith Jr. Some people even want Jalen Green out, or even Heat fans. I'm like, let's. If he's going to develop and fail at times, or be really successful at times, just let it be here. Because Jalen Green is your guy who he hits his head on the wall sometimes, and he's a little different than the rest of the kids. But when he's smart and when he is locked in, he is one of the most fun shooting guards in the league, and I don't think anyone can necessarily disagree with that. So I would never want to get rid of like top tier rebuild. I'm using air quotes, top tier rebuild players in the past Rockets 4 years for something like that, because we've had payoff ideas of Kevin Durant, De'Aaron Fox. Like Jimmy Butler is out of those 3 guys. Jimmy Butler is very well on the third of that list, like on as number 3 on that list. De'Aaron Fox, however, being on my Rockets team, I am sign me up. It's like I'm volunteering for the draft in the '60s, and I love my country. I am all in. I want to experience everything there is to experience. It also would be hilarious, Jimmy Butler just going to a very normal, average team, i.e., Sacramento or Detroit, because we can call Detroit average now. Isn't that awesome?
It's
You
impressive.
gotta love it.
It's
Gotta
impressive
love
that
it.
we're here.
Thank you, Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, Ronald Holland. We got to love it over there. Just throw him back in the East. Throw him on a shittier team in the East. That'd be funny. Let's just leave it at that. Yeah.
Send him back to Philly just for shits and gigs so we can beat up Joel Embiid.
He might be the spark plug. Who knows?
Yeah. So yeah, Jimmy Butler's available for trade, but Jimmy Butler is also patient zero. If you're unfamiliar with this, Reddit user JWYANYANAYNAYNA in Reddit NBA. I don't know why I read the whole user, but he posted this in Reddit NBA. And did Jimmy Butler commit biological warfare against the Dallas Mavericks during the game of 11/24, November 24th? So since then, we've been missing a lot of players due to illness. Najee Marshall was out for several games, 4.5 games, I believe. PJ Washington is now out against the Oklahoma City Thunder due to illness. I think Derek Lively missed a game due to illness. Like several players. Kyrie was in one of those. So I'm just going to read this to y'all. Butler was listed as questionable before the Heat win over the Mavericks on November 24th due to an illness, but was cleared to play shortly before the game and played 38 minutes. Following this game, 7 different Mavericks players have received illness designations on the injury report. The very next day versus the Hawks on November 25th, Quentin Grimes missed a game due to illness, while Derek Lively was ruled out for the second half for illness as well. Kyrie Irving was questionable for the game due to illness, but ultimately played. A few days later, on November 27th, Daniel Gafford was also ruled out for an illness. Najee Marshall missed the second half of the November 30th game versus the Jazz due to an upper respiratory illness and has been out under the same illness designation ever since. He came back tonight, caveat there. If his own Twitter can be considered a source, he was already feeling under the weather on November 26th, and likely before then as well. Maxi Kleber missed the game on December 7th versus Toronto for, guess what? An illness. And has already been ruled out for Tuesday's game, NBA Cup game against OKC. Him and PJ are out tonight. Marshall is finally listed as questionable after missing the last 4.5 games. PJ is now out. Is Jimmy Butler the new Typhoid Mary? This evidence seems pretty clear. I can't believe he had COVID and they're just like letting him play, and they gave it to everyone else. Ridiculous, Jimmy.
Incredible
Ridiculous,
stuff.
Jimmy. Think of the other people. Think of the other fans. Think of the referees. Think about your coaches. Think about the other
children,
training staff, the children, the women in the arena. It's ridiculous. I mean, how many? That's 7 players. 8 players. 8 players.
This is fucked.
That's more than half the roster.
This would be a huge news story. He could have been patient zero, Rudy Gobert style if this was 4+ years ago. Now it's becoming on the front of the NBA homepage, a Reddit homepage. Surprised nobody's picked this up. I don't understand. But this is why we sleuth. This is why we League Pass. I was going to pull out my NBA League Pass shirt. I do have a for the YouTube viewers, a vintage, a little stained. That's okay. NBA League Pass T-shirt. Printed on this Hanes heavyweight. Stone didn't know I was going to show this to everybody, but I just wanted to show it to everybody. This is why we League Pass, and this is why we consume so much NBA, because damn it, this league is awesome.
It is.
In what other league, other than maybe the 2020 NFL COVID season, that was fucked. Will you ever experience such mesmerizing situations like this? Maybe the LTIR situations in hockey, because those can get a little tricky sometimes. But Jimmy Butler, you are going to jail. You're going to jail, Jimmy. Hopefully it's in Huntsville, Texas for a week or two at the state while you're being transported to either Houston or Dallas, as Huntsville is not
pretty
halfway,
close.
but
it's about an hour outside of Dallas or Houston, so
give or take
2.5 from Dallas.
But I'm so sorry that your team is being harmed due to dare I say 2020 rhetoric. You are being irresponsible, Jimmy Butler. You need to mask up. I don't understand what we're doing.
Contagious terrorist is what it was.
Sure, let's just say things. Why don't we? This is great.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Don't count me out on just saying things out here. So Jimmy Butler, patient zero, but also available for trade. So good for him, I guess.
We got a good 18 minutes on Jimmy Butler. That's good stuff.
That's probably 18 more minutes than we'll have the rest of the season. The Los Angeles Lakers sitting at 13-11. They don't look great, and it's not JJ Redick's fault. I will never blame my GOAT. They look like a better team, but they're still not very good. And LeBron had a rough game about a week and a half ago, and it was pretty sad on Twitter. Everyone was making fun of him, and I didn't like that. Not one bit. Didn't like that one bit.
Nope.
The Lakers' downfall, however, I'm here for it. I'm seated for that. Is it time to make a move with one of their 2 stars, or is it going to be another LeBron trade deadline where D'Angelo Russell and others get packaged for, example, Russell Westbrook, like they did a few years ago? Like, is that just what we're headed towards? Like, he's going to get another aging superstar that's not as good anymore and trade a bunch of people for it and make the team worse? Or are we going to trade LeBron, or are we going to trade AD? I would prefer one of those two.
I don't want to prefer anything. The Lakers have had the worst turnover rate. I don't mean on the court. I mean employment turnover rate. Probably as much as I've ever seen. I mean, maybe like when the Washington Wizards were really bad, or the Philadelphia 76ers were really bad, those 4 or 5 years. Yeah. 2-3 years. Let's be clear. This is fucked. Again, the Lakers will never see the light of day unless they go 82-0. No matter what happens with their team, everyone has something to say. No matter, even if they're 500 and it's an early slow start to the season. Look at Milwaukee, for example. They've played really well these past couple weeks, and I don't really see that stopping anytime soon. But LA, I don't want to sit here and say, oh, they'll be all right, but something's got to give. One of their boys got to go. AD, I just wonder what a prime to entering late prime AD trade package would look like, because we've seen it before and it was a haul, folks. So AD being pretty healthy this year and arguably the best power forward in the NBA, because obviously Jokic is a center. Obviously Giannis, sure he's kind of a phantom guy, but the way AD plays in the post, it makes you feel like you're watching, I don't know, fucking Ben Wallace, Tayshaun Prince hybrid with a shot. It's awesome to watch, and any team would love to have his services. Again, I don't know if it'd be a salary issue. We can sit here and talk trades all day. I even went on my soapbox about De'Aaron Fox, but AD being out and being on another team, that'd be pretty fucking sick. I don't know if he's gonna be the guy. I don't know if we're gonna have another year because remember the trade deadline last year. I remember I was outside in the Heights doing something and I just lost it. We were texting each other back and forth with LeBron potentially going somewhere else, and he's never been traded before. I
Yeah.
don't see this being the year. What makes this year different than other Laker years where they've underperformed and made everybody pissed off? You know?
Yeah, a smart organization with a good GM and a good owner would probably wait closer to the deadline. If we get a week out from the deadline and assess the team, if they're still middling at 500 or below, then it's like, all right, let's trade AD and see how much we can get. Let's put them out there, let everyone make their offers, recoup the assets. We go into a full tank. LeBron can ride off into the sunset and go somewhere else in the offseason. Like, we'll let him walk. He'll opt out and he'll walk. You can get rid of the Bronny James show, like, and then you can just completely reset. And then you end up in your Brandon Ingram, D'Lo, Julius Randle era again.
You're being generous. I was going to say Robert Sacre
Right,
era.
but like you take 3-4 years, you get assets back, you get draft picks back, and you can use that and try to get better as an organization because their organization skills have revolved around what LeBron has wanted, and it is a superstar league, and I get that. But like, look at Oklahoma City; they don't have any. I mean, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is a superstar, but he's not to the point where LeBron is dictating what you're doing in the front office, essentially. And not saying LeBron is in the front office to saying I need this, 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 but there probably are comments to certain people in the building that are relayed to the front office from LeBron. They've done it for years, and last year they didn't do anything on the deadline. I don't believe so. Um, that was probably the first time that LeBron just hasn't gotten his deadline deal since before he went back to the Cavs.
Yeah, it's been a very long time, and again, who do you look at to blame here? We got Darvin Ham out. JJ Redick obviously is a great coach. From what we've seen in this very short stint so far, we can sit here and blame D'Angelo Russell. We can blame Gabe Vincent, their backup point guard. It's such a small sample size to really understand, and maybe we'll know more in 20 games. But like for right now, they're what are they at 500? Right? They're like
13 and
12 and
11,
12,
so 2 games
13.
over. Yeah,
Yeah, like
they're
they're
not
fine.
horrible,
They're not terrible.
but they're only
Like
beating bad teams is the issue, and they're losing to every good team. Which,
right.
as a Miami Dolphins fan, I know that all too well, and it's not a fun place to be in. But Rob Pelinka's the GM. He's not going to trade like the LeBron or AD. It's the Lakers. They're going to keep their stars and a smart organization if down the road towards the deadline in February and we get there and they don't look good and they aren't winning games, then they don't need to fire the coach. They need to recoup assets and rebuild and do something different than that they've done because 2020 is not here anymore. The bubble's not here anymore. LeBron is not 36 anymore. He's 40. Like, he's about to turn 40. Like, time is not on their side. So we'll see what happens with the Lakers this season. Another team in the West that's struggling. I don't know what their record is. Let me just pull that up right now. But I'm talking about the Phoenix Suns. They're 12 and 11 in the 10 seed in the West. The West is hard. I get that. There are 10, 11 really good teams in the West. However, the Suns can't win without Kevin Durant. I think they're one in whatever, how many other games that he's missed this season. They've won one of those games without him. Not a good sign. And the other bad sign is that your other star player, actual star player, Devin Booker, has been on the court for all of those games. So they've lost every game with Devin Booker and without KD, except for one. So the Phoenix Suns panicking without KD. With KD, they're pretty damn good. They're pretty hard to beat. But KD, his feet and legs are falling apart. I don't know.
There's little to no cartilage left. It feels like
Yeah.
Kevin Durant over the past, really ever since he went to Brooklyn, you've been seeing the way he plays, and it's so fun because obviously you're not going to get explosive, crazy hops, KD like jump out the gym. You're going to get a guy that looks the probably arguably like the coolest person ever taking jump shots or
Yeah.
pull up jumpers, and I love it. I love it. He could do this until he's 45. He might play 50 games a year until he's 45, and that's okay. Like just hoop, just hoop, do your damn thing. KD, you are a star and you've always been, but I don't mean to just sound like I'm doing revisionist history on KD because obviously it's been years where I've hated the man, and of course as a Rockets fan, he's traumatized me, dare I say. But the way KD's looking now, this is his team, and Devin Booker being on that squad, and obviously we league pass as much as we can. We don't watch every Suns game. I feel
Nope.
like this year I've watched every Pistons game, just like how I did last year.
It's ridiculous.
Um, but every time I've tuned in this year, it's been yeah, I don't want to say a tough watch, but
It's not a
Suns don't
quality
have
watch.
anything. They don't have anything figured out yet, and that's okay. But you have two what should be superstars on that team, and I'm not saying this is like an LA Laker win now panics situation with a 40, 41-year-old LeBron James, but KD's not getting any younger. Devin Booker's pushing 30. Like we got to accelerate this situation. Bradley Beal has had a lot, not a lot, a few really good games this year. And
Yeah.
he's good again. He's mostly good again. And I don't think anyone's giving him credit on that because obviously he had such a down, terrible year last year.
He was hurt a
Um,
lot of last year too,
he
and people don't
was.
talk about that
And because people again they'll do their revisionist history or even their history in the moment where they'll be like haha this guy stinks even though he very clearly has something going on with his body
for sure.
that even fans might not even know. So I know he was hurt for a while and seems like he's kind of figuring it out. um 45 and 37 from Phoenix and up, cool. That's fine. We're not expecting like 60 wins from that team. Maybe when they all teamed up and you had the potential and the idea of Bradley Beal, that would have been one thing. Teamed up with KD and Booker, of course, but I'm not moved by the hatred of them. I'm not moved by them potentially being good. They are the Phoenix Suns, and we'll see how those two quote unquote stars align. And Bradley Beal, dare I say, 2.5 stars.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
could
it's
say
like
that.
it's like a recruit from a small town in Missouri. You know what I mean? Just enough to get you by.
Yeah, I'd agree. So it's not time to panic until we figure out if KD is actually just going to play this year because I think it's the calf strain again, and he's gone out twice now with it, and you don't want to see that because, like you said, watching KD in this form is like incredible to watch because he's one of the most he's a lethal shooter essentially. Like everywhere on the court, you're terrified of him shooting the basketball. I equate it to Carmelo Anthony, like watching him jab step from the 3 point line and make a three for Portland wearing 00 was like the coolest shit ever. It's not to that level, but watching one of the players that you grew up watching just be so fucking good at basketball, even though they don't have the athleticism that they used to have or whatever it may be, still fucking cool. And KD is just a hoop head, so he's intelligent. His IQ is through the roof on the basketball court, and watching him just pick apart a defense and get to his spot and still be able to just drain whatever he wants to drain. It's sick. I hate that he's on Phoenix, but it's sick. So we'll see what happens with KD if he can come back and be healthy for several months at a time. TBD. We'll have to wait on that.
Katie, you have our support for right now. Just don't get too good and beat my
Yeah.
Rockets in a playoff matchup.
As long as you suck in April and May, or just in April. I'm going to get
Just
you out of
yeah.
here. April's fine. Last thing before we go is it time to hit the panic button in Denver. They're 12-10. They're sitting at the 7th seed in the West, and it's still early. It's not Christmas yet. But Jokic is doing something that very few players have ever done. He scored like 104 points, had like 43 rebounds, I believe, and I think 16 assists over a 2-game span. So for you math nerds out there, that's like 52 points per game with 21 and a half rebounds and 8 assists. Not bad. However, they didn't win one of those games. They've lost to the Wizards, I believe, this season, and that's gross to me. Jamal Murray is a figment of my imagination at this point. Aaron Gordon's really cool. He's fun. He's good. That's about it. That's about it on the Denver Nuggets. And I'm not ready to hit the panic button, but it's come out of the closet. It's not in the drawer anymore. It's on the table. It's on the kitchen table. It's not on the dining room table yet, but it's on the kitchen table. You're looking at
Yeah.
it. You're
Yeah,
thinking about it.
only while the kids are in school, though. You don't want to put that
Yeah,
around
you
them
put that back
when
when
they're home.
the kids get home, you don't wanna scare anyone off, but throughout the day, those 8 hours of school time, your, uh, internal panic is at an all-time high.
The team is really interesting because I can pinpoint, Christian Brown's at times great efficiency. I think he scored 10 points a game for the past, it feels like 100 games. I mean, it's death taxes and Christian Braun more than 10 points or more than
Yeah,
9.5 points. But in regards to this team in general, I'm watching Julian Strother get 25 minutes a game. I'm watching Peyton Watson get 20 minutes a game. And while these guys are sparks, these guys are like at not most times, but some, if not 50% of the time, they're fun guys. They're spark plugs. They're cool players, but I don't want to say that you're getting the corpse of Aaron Gordon out there, but the way he's evolved his game, I don't want to say it's going to pass him by. He's still a fun guy to watch.
yeah,
But seeing him, pop threes every once in a while, and of course, get that occasional, rim run dunk. That's always fun. But these Nuggets, especially with Jamal Murray, being Jamal Murray right now, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan at all. And come April, May, they'll have 50 wins, I bet, and all will be forgiven in the world because Nikola Jokic will lead them to more than enough. But them losing to Washington was just an absolute slap in the face. It wasn't just a loss. I think it was like a 10 point, 12
it
point loss.
it wasn't really a game. That's
Yeah.
the issue.
Yeah. So this is a problem for what Denver's trying to accomplish here. Like they have all the potential or all the signs were leading to them potentially having a dynasty, and now we're sitting here. They're 12-10, and they have the best player in the world. Let's be clear; it's not a debate anymore. Nikola Jokic is and has been the best player in the world for a solid 2 years now, at least.
It's been a
You could
hot
argue
minute,
three.
yeah.
You could argue three. Luka Doncic at times, sure, you can throw him in the mix too. But you have the best player in the world, undoubtedly. So something's got to give in Denver, and I still can't pin like. I wish I had answers. I wish we could sit here, create our segments, create what we're thinking of, and fully have everything mapped out. But I don't know yet. We're 22 games in the year, Stone. I
I
don't
know.
know what we can sit here and complain more about. We've talked about 3, 4, 5 teams tonight, and it feels like everybody's kind of teetering over the panic button. And I love early NBA season talking heads talk because everything's knee jerk. Everything feels like, oh, the Lakers lost to the Trailblazers, the Nuggets lost to the Wizards, blow it all up, fire Mike Malone, like just crazy, silly shit that you think that would happen in the Rockets Twitter space whenever they're talking about, let's say, trading for Kevin Porter Jr. back or trading for De'Aaron Fox and giving up just Cam Whitmore and one first round pick. Like I love the delusions. It's so fun. You got to love it.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, it's great stuff. So the Denver Nuggets will be okay. They do need some more guys, though. I'll tell you that for surely. Maybe give up some draft capital for a player like Cam Johnson or something like that. That'd be a great addition to the to make the boys buzzing again.
Yeah, you said that it's hard to complain about things when we're 22 games into the season. I can find something to complain about. ESPN's MVP ladder leaderboard, whatever they called it, came out the other day, and Nikola Jokic was number one on the list. While Jokic is inarguably the best player in the world right now, they're all narrative based the whole time. And last year, if you remember at this time, the Dallas Mavericks lost 3 out of 4. I think they lost to the Charlotte Hornets or something in there. Like, not good. The Nuggets have lost 3 out of 4, lost to the Washington Wizards. Luca at that point was putting up 37, 11, and 9 for the season at that point, 20 something games into the season. But
Wow.
the Mavericks were in ninth, I believe. They were in the play in. They were like, oh, you can't be in the play in and win the MVP. That was the whole narrative last year. Nikola Jokic is ESPN's number one on the leaderboard right now. They're doing the exact same thing that Luka Doncic did last season. Like he's putting up 50 points, 45 points, and they just can't win the game. The same thing's happening to Jokic right now. It's eerily similar. Like it feels awful. Like I see it and I just get PTSD, and it happens from like the beginning of last season before any of the trades happened. Um, Luca averaged 33.99 last year and didn't even get second in the MVP and was the fifth team in the West. And And then the playoffs happen. Obviously, it looks a little worse after that. But Jokic is in the same conversation. I just don't understand why Luka doesn't get love like he used to. Like the first 2 years of the NBA, everyone was like, "Oh, Luka's sick," except for you other Texas basketball fans when in Houston and San Antonio. But like, pretty much everyone else is like, "This is pretty fucking cool. He's pretty sick." Now everyone's saying that about Jokic, and they can't win a game, and he's just putting up crazy numbers. They're like, "Yeah, MVP right there. He's already won 3. What does he need more?"
You think that voter fatigue would set in by now? Would he won 3 out of the last 4?
I will say, if he wins a 4th one and LeBron only has 4, what what are we doing with the whole narrative based thing? You can't win X amount of years in a row. Da, 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 da. Like, what are we doing? Are we
All
just,
that all that goes out the window.
yeah, apparently, whatever.
That's
So yeah,
that's the weird thing about the NBA is it's not like college football where you can pinpoint and be like, oh, Bama lost to 6-6 Vandy or 6-6 Oklahoma. Um, with the NBA, you're going to have ugly losses. Obviously, if they pile up and pile up and pile up, and especially if they're on prime time too, because that's just how the NBA is. Um, it's tough because you can't, like I said, you can't really pinpoint what exactly went wrong in a season unless it's like injury based or if some guy just really just stinks it up. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But I don't really know how we're going to change the narrative system. I don't know how we're going to overreact or not, or how we're not going to overreact, or how we're not going to sweep shit under the rug when it comes to teams like this, because obviously they deserve to be talked about. They're Nikola Jokic being the best player in the world. I want to hear more about that. I want to understand and watch and consume, even if it's a 6 p.m. on a Wednesday game on League Pass. Like, I'm still gonna try my best to understand why Nikola Jokic is Nikola Jokic. With the team around him and an 82 game season, you can definitely pinpoint situations where he is just chucking shit, not chucking shippers. He's so pinpoint, smart, and direct with the way he plays the game, but there'll be games where he touches the ball every single possession. Every single possession. There is not one possession from the Denver Nuggets with him on the floor, unless it's like a 7 second or less Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray assisted 3 pointer or something like that. You know what I mean? Like one dribble shit. Nikola Jokic will touch that ball. If the shot clock gets under 10 seconds, Nikola Jokic has already touched that ball. There's not anyone in the league that I can say does that. Luka Doncic, obviously being your main ball handler, and a lot of point guards you can kind of pinpoint. Um, but as a center, as a phantom position, as what it feels like right now, especially with Wemby, this is awesome. I don't care if he wins 4 in a row. I don't care if he wins 5 in a row. If that deepens your hatred for the system in of itself and makes you more of a passionate Mavericks fan, that's great. Because I'll enjoy watching you or anyone else who is watching Nikola Jokic's greatness. I get it. I get it. There's been years where I've had Yao Ming healthy. There's been years where I've had Tracy McGrady, MVP guys, James Harden, of course, who just haven't won it. All you can do is sit back and watch.
yeah. And the only reason I would get upset about the precedents that the MVP voters have put into place since the 70s, I would say, is because Luca had the best stats last year and was in the playoffs. He wasn't in the play-in. They were the best team in basketball post-trade deadline, other than the Boston Celtics, who won a bajillion games. So, um, like, if any year Luka should have won it last year, if they were going to go off the whole narrative thing, he had already won 2 in a row. They usually, like, James Harden got his 2, Giannis got his 2, and they were just like, all right, that's it. Next guy, next guy, next guy.
Yep.
And they weren't doing that. Jokic was still the best player in the world last year. I think Luka was right there with them. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander was also right in that conversation, but I don't think Luka will win it this year. He's already 5th, and they're just like, and he's still doing crazy shit since he came back from his injury, and then no one's tweeting about it. Like, NBA tweeted 3 different clips from Jokic's half-court heave the other night, and the night before, Luka literally did the exact same thing, and not once was it posted on NBA.com. Like, I was like, what's the purpose of tweeting out basketball clips if you're not just going to tweet out all the cool clips? Like, I don't care what team it is. I don't care what player. Tweet them all out. If you hate Luka, then just hate Luka from afar. Don't hate it from a giant platform like that. So, it doesn't make any sense. But yeah, Denver's 12-10 right now. Obviously, it's not even Christmas. So if we get to Christmas and we're still sitting around this point, right around 500, I'll be ready to possibly tap the panic button. Maybe not press it, but just kind of like put your finger on it.
Hover your finger over it,
Yeah,
and
it'd
then
be
make a
interesting.
peculiar face, something like that.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. But we'll be back later this week with another episode of Zero Gravity recapping the NBA Cup games. And speaking of the NBA Cup, make sure you head to J Bar M Barbecue right next to the Toyota Center. It's just a couple of blocks away. Cheap drinks, great food over at J Bar M. So go pregame with the Apollo boys and the Summit State of Mind Rockets podcast boys. It's going to be an awesome time. So make sure you show out for your Houston Rockets. If you're a Rockets fan, tomorrow night, Wednesday night, as you're listening to this tonight, at J Bar M Barbecue. Thank you for sponsoring this episode. And thank you to Big City Wings, Houston's Wing Joint, Apollo's Wing Joint. Go check them out. If you're in the Houston area, they've got 14 locations. Not a big deal. They're somewhere in Houston near you. And shout out to Prize Picks. Use code Apollo when you sign up and get up to $100 matched on your first deposit with Prize Picks. It's a daily fantasy app. If you're unfamiliar with that, it's where you hit more or less on every player's stat every night, every game. It's the best. You can pick whatever stats, you put two of them together, and all of a sudden you make money. So you put in $100 for Prize Picks using code Apollo, they'll give you another free $100 to play with. So shout out to Prize Picks, Big City Wings, and J Bar M Barbecue. We will see you tonight there. This has been Zero Gravity, Apollo Media's NBA podcast.